Beth at this time. I'd like to invite all the presenters back. Feel free to unmute yourself. We have some additional questions. The first question we have is in regards to, I believe it would be Danielle, you with the Handle with Care program. And you may be able to explain this better, but someone was curious to learn about the role of the state police and transportation implications.
Or domestic violence incidents, calls to domestic violence incidents.
Sure.
Okay. We do assist with transport to domestic violence shelters, to medical supports.
Okay,
I'm
and then
sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I just said I'm sorry. I'm looking up because I have it on the screen. But was that the question?
Yeah, and then do you all provide does the Handle Care program, if there's a transportation incident um that a child is involved, would the schools be notified, or does it just have to be occurring within their residence?
Um, we do handle with cares for severe car accidents in which children are involved or present during that, where there's a lot of um, maybe someone has lost their life in that accident, or um, there's multiple injuries, a lot of injuries, a lot of um, I guess chaos during those kind of things of multiple agency response and ambulances and things, but there should be a handle with care for those as well.
Okay. And then there was another question for you, and this may go more with your victim and advocacy services role.
Mhm.
But what are the best practices for children testifying, specifically in civil protective order cases?
Best practices for children in civil, um, for handle with care or for the victim advocacy.
It was not clarified. I just,
Okay. Having the supports there for the child as they testified. So a lot of the prosecutor's office has victim advocates that can work with the families, as well as our victim advocates at KSP posts. We have a lot of our court systems are really good at providing special advocates through CASA as well for children who are um, in the foster care system at the time. Just having those extra supports, and the CAC, of course, I cannot forget the CACs. They do wonderful things with children during interviews and as they work through the criminal justice system. But just having those supports there for the non-offending family members as well as the child, um, and making sure that they have supports outside of testifying or being involved in the criminal justice system process as well, such as mental health services, the schools providing support, having just those additional supports after.
okay. And then this question may be for you, Danielle, or it may be for Kala, or both. Do you all have any recommended screenings or evidence-based practices for healthcare and mental care practitioners when they're responding, or just in, yeah, when they're during a primary care visit?
So I can share about a particular model that the CDC has helped adapt to the United States environment, but it's not necessarily related to a primary care visit, but more of an emergency department visit. So it's called the Cardiff model, which was originated in Wales and has been now implemented in several communities in the United States. And it's a partnership between hospitals, and law enforcement and communities to combine hospital data and law enforcement data, because we know that a lot of IPV and other types of violence are not reported to law enforcement. So data is collected in hospital encounters as well to map and identify where violence is happening to get a better, clearer picture of that. And then the community works together across different sectors to develop strategies to prevent violence from happening. So I can place a link, and I'll also provide my email in case you have any questions about that or anything else I've talked about.
Thank you. There was another question in the report. It shows would be for Drew. In the report, it showed that there were ages as low as 10 years of age. Is there a cutoff for the age when you're reporting domestic violence, and how does that coincide with child abuse?
That's an excellent question. I mean, it's to my understanding, we I'm trying to think back to the JC3 of like how it's worded on there. I think we consider anything under the age of 18 child abuse. I think we only reported this certain metrics just to protect for child confidentiality laws, I think restrict what we're able to report on certain things. I know, so one additional thing that I wanted to provide context for as well, when we're looking at the past of the JC3, and this goes a little bit beyond the scope of the question, so I apologize. But the JC3, in addition to being a mechanism to track domestic violence situations, it's also a avenue to provide services for child and elder abuse. And so CHFS receives all of the cases of child abuse and domestic violence and elder abuse, specifically those two groups, and then does follow up for care for those individuals. And so some of that reporting, it sort of depends on, you know, whether it's coming from CHFS or KSP in terms of reporting some of those things and some of those metrics. But if there's, I guess, I can follow up with that question, provide additional context for that. I might just need to double check the statute to make sure that I'm correct in how I'm responding.
Okay, we'll give you a second or two.
Oh, I mean, I can follow
Follow
via
up.
email later.
Okay.
Yeah, it might take me more than a second to find the correct statute.
Okay. And then with that said, is there within the JC3, is there any measure for digital violence and domestic violence?
So
I didn't see any of the offense charges listed there, but I didn't know if it had been
correct.
considered.
To my knowledge, not necessarily. It wouldn't fall under that based on the arresting charges, I think. So I mean, the JC3s are issued in cases where there is a call for service. And so JC3s would not necessarily be issued, you know, in court situations. It's whenever KSP is responding to a call or situation. And so more than likely it would fall under a different category than necessarily digital. I think some of those digital domestic violence situations can be found more in the court case sentencing than necessarily the JC3 itself.
Thank you, Drew. We have another question. Everyone just listen. You may be able to help answer it. If a child made a statement to a judge during child custody part of divorce proceedings, and the family of the parent that lost custodial parent rights has their children make comments to the child at school, should that be reported to the school? Having heard this being an issue twice now, I'm just wondering if it should be reported somewhere else In other words, should it just be chalked up as bullying or something else?
I'm going to brave it. Can you repeat it? I'm not sure that I really understand what the question was.
Yes.
Thank you.
If a child made statement to a judge during child custody, part of the divorce proceedings, and the family of the parent that lost custodial parent rights has their child make comments to the child at school, should that be reported to the school?
I would be able to answer that. I'm not sure that I could answer that. Someone on more of the law side, the court system side, or schools.
Would this be maybe somewhere at the Office of Attorney General, one of those advocates could answer that? We refer someone
Possibly.
there.
Yes. Yes.
The Office of the Attorney General has advocates. They are there for court-supported services. If you will feel free to reach out to them. Joe responded definitely. Could Joe work to answer the question? And he said it definitely could be considered domestic violence. Domestic violence doesn't have to be firsthand. Oftentimes, offenders use others to bully, harass, control. People commit domestic violence through wellness checks, for instance. And then we also said it was from the chat, it should be reported to the custodial parent's lawyer. And we should always document it, communicate it to the relevant attorney. Thank you all in the chat for assisting with the question. Okay, I do not see any other additional questions at this time. We're going to close up 1 minute shy. We want to thank our speakers and the information they shared and taught us. And thank you all for attending and joining us today. This event has served as a pivotal platform. As you can see, we've shared a lot of knowledge, some of the collaborations that are ongoing, and definitely raised awareness about other issues as we all are working to take a stand against adverse childhood experiences and domestic violence. So let's end this cycle of abuse, and we can only do it together. We would also like to end with saying thank you to the Kentucky Injury Prevention Research Center, also known as KIPRIC, for assisting with this event. And please note, KIPRIC is a unique partnership between the Kentucky Department for Public Health and the University of Kentucky Colleges of Public Health. KIPRIC serves as both an academic injury prevention center and a bona fide agent for the Department for Public Health for statewide injury prevention and control. We want to say thank you all. Have a wonderful day. Please email me at ashleybush@uky.edu, and I'd be happy to respond with questions. And we should have this presentation posted by late April. Thank you all.